Hare Krishna Prabhus, the temple room camera and mic are turned off.
Haribo, thank you for telling.
Thank you for appreciating my humble effort.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Muktavanya. Your camera and mic are turned off. Dasya-Prema Prabhu, are you there?
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Do people repeat?
I'll repeat.
Okay. Well, it's long and it's not in meter form, so I'll maybe read through a couple times, then you read through a couple times. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4, verse number 19. Sakadachit Attamano Bhagavan Rishabho Brahma Vartagato Brahmarshi Pravarasabhayam Prajanam Nisha Mayantinam Atmajan Avahita Mana Vashraya Pranaya Barasu Suyanit Suyan Chitan Apyu Pashikshayan Itiho Vacha. Do it one more time then. Sakadachit Atmano Bhagavan Rishabho Brahmavartagato Brahmarshi Pravara Sabhayam Prajanam Nisha Mayantinam Atmachan Avahitatmana Prashraya Pranaya Parasu Suyan Chitan Api Upashik Chan Itihovacha.
Mine might have a meter. Sikdachiratmano Bhagavan Vishava Brahmavarta Kato Brahmarshi Prabhara Sabhayam Prajanam Misayam Tinam Atmajan Avahitatmanam Prashraya Pranaya Para Siya Dvitanapya Upasik Shayan Itiho Vacha.
Word for word. Saha
Saha
He Kadachit
Kadachi
once.
once
Attamana
Mana
while on tour.
while on tour.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Rishabha,
Shiva
Lord Rishabha.
Vishava
Brahmavartagata.
Brahmavartagata.
When he reached the place known as Brahmavarta,
We reached the place known as Brahmavarta,
identified by some
identified by some
as Burma
as Burma,
and by others as a place near Kanpura,
as a place near Kanpura,
Uttar Pradesh.
Uttar Pradesh.
Brahma Rishi Pravara Sabhayam.
Brahmavishi Kavada Satayam.
In a meeting of first-class Brahmanas,
A first-class Brahman.
Prajanam,
Jana,
while the citizens,
the citizens.
Isha Mayantinam,
Samayatina.
were hearing Majan, his sons, Avahita Atmanam,
Atmana.
attentive,
Attentive.
Vashraya,
Shaya.
of good behavior,
Of good behavior.
Pranaya,
Pranaya.
of devotion,
Of devotion.
Vara,
Love.
by an abundance,
By abundance.
Suyantritan, Hare Krishna. But I have some trouble with the computer, so it's on the phone now. Once while touring the world, Lord Rshabhadeva, the Supreme Lord, reached a place known as Brahmavarta. There was a great conference of learned Brahmins at that place, and all the king's sons attentively heard the instructions of the Brahmanas there. At that assembly, within the hearing of the citizens, Rshabhadeva instructed his sons, although they were already very well behaved, devoted, and qualified. He instructed them so that in the future they could rule the world very perfectly. Thus he spoke as follows. Repeat after me. Once while touring the world, Lord Rshabhadeva, the Supreme Lord, reached a place known as Brahmavarta. There was a great conference of learned Brahmins at that place, and all the king's sons attentively heard the instructions of the Brahmanas there. At that assembly, within the hearing of the citizens, Rshabhadeva instructed his sons, although they were already well behaved, devoted, and qualified. He instructed them so that in the future they could rule the world very perfectly. Thus he spoke as follows. Prabhupada's purport. The instructions of Lord Rshabhadeva to his sons are very valuable. If one wants to live peacefully within this world, which is full of miseries, is very valuable if one wants to live peacefully within this world, which is full of miseries. In the next chapter, Lord Rshabhadeva gives his sons these valuable instructions. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Characteristics of Rshabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Gyantimirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurmutam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sadhvichatam Sahagana Raghunatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Sehitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudreve Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakapatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, so this is going to begin the teachings of Lord Rshabhadeva. This is a section that Prabhupada very, very frequently quotes from and refers to in all his many of his lectures and purports. So coming to the beginning of that chapter, and Prabhupada says here, the instructions of Lord Rshabhadeva to his sons are very valuable if one wants to live live peacefully within this world, which is full of miseries. So everyone knows, we all know, we've all suffered so much in this world, And we're suffering right now, and we continue to suffer throughout our lives. And we identify very strongly with this body, although we've heard hundreds or thousands or many thousands of times, we've heard, you're not that body, and we believe it. We know it's a fact. I'm not the body. But still, on a hot day, I'm so hot. On a cold day, oh, it's so cold, it's so difficult. And if we break our arm or have some disease, we suffer so much. The identification with the body is so strong that even with, of course, knowledge is the most important thing. It's just like Prabhupada frequently gives the example, a classic example is if you see a rope coiled up on the ground and you mistake it for a snake, but so you'll be afraid. So, but if somebody tells you, or the light comes on or something, and you see, well, it's not a snake, it's a rope, then you're not afraid anymore. So although in ignorance, everyone in the material world is always afraid. Prabhupada says of the four animal propensities, eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. The fearing is the most prevalent. We live constantly in a state of fear. But we're so used to it that we think, oh no, I got it together. I'm young, I'm healthy, I have a good education, I'll get married, I'll have a good job, I'll do this, I'll do that. I got things under control, and things are okay. But everyone tries to, in our own ways, we block out the fear as much as we can. And but the fact of the matter is that we constantly live in fear with good reason. If you identify with the body, which every conditioned soul does, everyone identifies very strongly with the body, then of course it's logical to be afraid. It's completely logical, because the material world is full of danger at every step. Padam padam yadvipadam natesham. But it's not full of fear for the devotees, because we're the persons, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we're our spiritual masters. We're the people, the few people, very few people in the world who know that we're not the body, and we're convinced of it philosophically. We're convinced of it intellectually. We know I'm not the body. So, and we know that this material world is not the reality. The previous verse, it says, no one likes to possess anything that is like the will of the wisp or a flower in the sky. But everyone knows very well that such things do not exist. I'll just read the rest of it. When Lord Rshabhadeva ruled this planet of Bharatavarsha, even common men did not want to ask for anything at any time or by any means. It's pretty emphatic. No one ever asks for a will of the wisp. In other words, everyone was completely satisfied, and therefore there was no chance of anyone's asking for anything. The people were absorbed in great affection for the king. Since this affection was always expanding, they were not inclined to ask for anything. And Prabhupada says in many lectures, morning walks, he says people, like one of the qualifications of a learned man, someone who's a learned man is that he sees other people as garbage in the street. So if you saw somebody's money on the ground and they had dropped it there, and most people would think, oh, good, there's money on the ground, there's nobody around, I'll take the money, or whatever it is that they've left there. But that's not, you might say, well, is somebody has to use it, it might as well be me. And but that's a quality of a learned person that sees other people's possessions as garbage in the street. And he refers to in earlier days in India, and still probably to some extent, but when he was young, growing up, referred to the quality of the people in India, that they would think, well, if they were in a suffering condition, poor, or maybe not enough to eat, they would think, well, this is what God has given, so I accept it. And the preaching in the modern world, so-called modern world, is like, no, you don't accept what if there's something bad going on, some difficult. You work hard. You get an education, or you beg, borrow, or steal. Like Charvak Muni, his preaching was that whatever you have to do, beg, borrow, or steal, but get your sense gratification. Get ghee as a standard for sense gratification. If you could cook with butter or ghee, and so that's the preaching in the world as we know it today. You don't have to accept. And if there's something bad happening to you, that's wrong. That's an injustice. Somebody may be doing you wrong. The government may be cheating you. Your employer may be exploiting you, taking advantage of you. So many things that bad will be happening. That's just a fact of life. But a learned person, as much as possible, we take it, well, this is coming from God. I have my karma. After all, I'm born into the material world. That means I'm a fallen soul. That means I'm guilty of being envious of Krishna. And here I am in the material world. It's my fault. And here I am in Kali Yuga, the worst age. So I can expect a lot of trouble because it's the material world. It's Kali Yuga. It's normal. It has to be like this. So I can try to a certain extent to get along. Everyone tries to get along in a reasonable way, but it's not the nature of the material world to let us have an easy life. The previous purport, a couple of verses ago, verse 15, Prabhupada quotes that the material world is described by Lord Krishna himself as Dukalayam Ashashvatam, a temporary place of misery. No one can stay here, even if he makes a compromise with misery. One has to give up this body and accept another, which may not even be a human body. So, and Prabhupada talks about that fairly often, that Krishna gives that, he certifies, like if you buy a new car and the first page of the owner's manual in big letters is, this seems like a nice car, but it's going to cause you a lot of trouble. And you're going to have trouble with this car. it's going to break down. Everything's it's going to give you trouble. So they don't, of course, they don't put that in big letters in the owner's manual, but it's a fact. Everyone knows it's a fact. And Krishna does that in the Bhagavad Gita. You may think you can, he says, this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's temporary and it's full of misery. It's certified by the creator, by the designer. Like one of the arguments of the atheists that they say, one of their arguments is, oh, God, you say God is all powerful and omniscient. So if he's omniscient, he's all powerful, he's all good. So, but we see that everything in the material world is full of fault. Our material bodies, so many things go wrong with them. There's so many problems. So if he's omniscient, he wouldn't have made a world. Why would he make a world that's so faulty? And that's an argument they use, but it's not a good argument. Our reply is that no, it's full of fault, designed like that on purpose by Krishna to give us trouble, so that we can eventually come to the conclusion that I don't want to be here. This isn't a good place. I should try to find some way out of here. So, yeah, so the material, so Prabhupada, when he refers to this dukkhalayam ashashvatam, he says that, okay, you may say, all right, the material world is full of misery, it's a difficult place, but I accept that, and I'll try to do the best I can. But then Prabhupada says, but no, you can't. You may make that deal or that live under that assumption or that conception, but even if you make that deal, you can't stay here. It's temporary. So yeah, there's no solution to the miseries of the material world. They are going on. They've always gone on, and they will always go on. Our bodies are full of trouble, and everything else is full of trouble too. So it's anyway. So getting back to the point, so the material, it's natural to be afraid, and like if you ask somebody, what's the most prevalent feature of the material world out of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? And somebody might say, well, maybe mating is the most prevalent feature. Everybody's always thinking about trying to have some sex with somebody. So maybe that's but probably, and that is very dominant factor in everyone's lives. But the most prevalent feature of the material world is fear. And so, but we don't have to be afraid. There's like even in Prabhupada's own name, Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, is Abhay means without any fear. And we may hear that and say, that's not, how is that possible without any fear? I'm always afraid. I know that one of the first things I heard when I came to the temple when I was young, and devotee was reading out loud from a Prabhupada lecture during Prasadam, where he's taking Prasadam. And he said, one of the things he's read that I heard then, and I can't remember anything else of what he read at that time, but the thing I remember, never forgot, was a devotee thinks, why should I worry about anything? And of course, to the materialist, that sounds crazy. Why should I worry about anything? I'm worried about everything. And I was a young guy, so many anxieties and worries, everything. All mind was messed up in so many ways. And I'm thinking, why should I worry about anything? I'm worried about everything. But a devotee thinks like that. Another thing that I heard, I won't do that one now, but yeah, why should I worry about anything? And we don't have to worry about anything. We are under Krishna's protection. When we begin to surrender to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, when we begin to have faith in Krishna, just a little bit of faith, and Prabhupada, Dasya-Prema, and Prabhupada describes that little bit of faith as, he says, if somebody sees the devotees and he thinks, oh, those are the Hare Krishna people, and they're, let me go hear what they have to say. Or if he sees or gets a Bhagavad Gita as it is, Nectar of Devotion, or any of Prabhupada's books, and he thinks, oh, this, I think this is something about spiritual life. Let me see what it has to say. This Bhaktivedanta Swami. Let me see. And Prabhupada says that just that little bit of open-mindedness is it's a little bit of faith. Everyone is a pure spirit soul. Everyone has a tendency, a natural inclination, a natural tendency to want to, or some maybe latent, very covered desire, but it's there in every conditioned soul, in every spirit soul, to understand God, to want to understand God, to want to understand our who am I? Like Prabhupada very frequently refers to the meeting of Sanatana Goswami with Lord Chaitanya. Lord, the first verse, the first question by Sanatana Goswami said, Kayame Kene More Tapatroy. He said, people call me a learned man. By material standards, he was a learned man, very intelligent, knew other languages, was a highly trusted official in the government, like Secretary of State or something. The king relied on him for all kinds of advice and to help run the kingdom. And so by material standards, he's a very highly educated, intelligent man. But his first word, Sanatana Goswami's first words to Lord Chaitanya were, people call me an intelligent man, a very learned man. He said, but what kind of learned man am I? I don't know who I am. And I don't know why I'm suffering. Why do I always suffer the threefold miseries of material life? And yeah, I remember that other thing, that one of the first things I heard in when I first started going to the temple, somebody was playing a lecture, audio lecture of Prabhupada during Prasadam. And one thing I remember Prabhupada said was, he said it with great emphasis. And he said, and you should know that you're a damn fool number one. And I was a little taken aback. I thought of myself as an intelligent guy. And my mother told me I was smart and I did good in school. And I thought I was smart. And I come to the temple and the first thing I hear is, you should know that you're damn fool number one. I was, of course, every conditioned soul is damn fool number one. I identify with the body. It doesn't matter if somebody has a PhD for Harvard or MIT or one of the others, any college in Boston. We have a lot of students, young Indian boys who are living in the temple and they're going to college and getting their degrees. Some are PhD students and very intelligent men, but they all understand that this is just material education, a material estimation of my IQ, and it really has no bearing on my advancement in Krishna consciousness, which is the only thing that really matters. Of course, intelligence is good for devotees. One of the main reasons that Prabhupada wanted a temple in Boston in the first place was that because it is a city of many, many colleges, universities, and he wanted the devotees to make other devotees out of the college population. So intelligence is also a very good thing. And all the devotees are intelligent, the most intelligent people. But so if we can, so anyway, material intelligence can certainly be used in the service of Krishna, and it's needed. After all, we're trying to, Prabhupada wanted to push on a worldwide movement that takes a lot of intelligent planning, a lot of execution, a lot of organization, so many things. So intelligence is also very needed and useful in Krishna's service, but in and of itself, it's of no value. It's like I read a quote from, I think it was, who's the scientist in the wheelchair? Stephen Hawking. And I read some quote from him the other day. He's a brilliant man, brilliant, but he's an atheist. He said something like, I see no logical reason to believe in God. There's no scientific proof of it. And all of his intelligence, his brilliant mind, what's the use? He doesn't believe in God. He's damn fool number one. So anyway, yeah, see, I forgot where I was, but anyway, so if you hear, we can be abaya without any fear, because even in our neophyte condition, because we know that it's not a snake, it's a rope. The whole material world, the world of Maya, is a very fearful place, but it's not a fearful place for us, because we know that Maya Devi is a pure devotee, servant of Krishna, and her duty, Prabhupada says, her thankless task is to keep us, to put us in illusion. The two potencies, the throwing potency and the covering potency. So the covering potency is we're put into the material world and we're covered by the illusion of Maya. We're made to think. We're made to not only think, but believe, understand with all our heart and soul that we are the body. We're forced to have that understanding, and very strong. No one can fight that understanding on their own. Maya is so powerful, and so that's the covering potency, and the throwing potency is that when somebody starts to have an interest in Krishna consciousness, read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, come to the temple, associate with the devotees, or live in the temple, spend some time in the temple, and begin to have some faith in Krishna consciousness. But the throwing potency is Maya will say, "Oh, why are you taking this so seriously? You don't have to go to the temple today, or there's a baseball game on, or you met this girl and this girl wants to see you, or there's this drug out there you could get and you could take that drug and have some fun today. Why do you want to go to the temple? Or if you're in the town, living in the temples, say, well, no, you could have a better life. You could be free if you weren't in the temple. You could be free. You could be your own man, your own woman. You could do what you want to do without all this authority over you. You don't need that. Well, that's some examples of the throwing potency of Maya. So Maya is very strong, very powerful, but if you surrender, if we begin to surrender to Krishna and take it very seriously, then, and we read Prabhupada's books, we hear his lectures, hear our own spiritual masters' lectures, and purport the books and classes, then you know the facts of life. That yes, there is Maya, yes, I'm in illusion, but no, I don't have to be controlled by that illusion, because I understand that Krishna consciousness is the absolute truth. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada is his pure, intimate associate, coming to the material world just to save us from the entrapment of Maya, and to bring us home back to Godhead. So hearing in disciplic succession from Prabhupada, and from Prabhupada in disciples and just in disciplic succession is the most important thing. It has to go on continuously, perpetually, with great, as it says here, at that assembly within, there was a great conference of learned Brahmins at that place, and all the king's sons attentively heard the instructions of the Brahmins there. At that assembly, within the hearing of the citizens, Rshabhadeva instructed his sons, although they were already very well behaved, devoted, and qualified. He instructed them so that in the future they could rule the world very perfectly. Thus he spoke as follows. So there is a young man, and this is not Kali Yuga. I forget, I don't know what Yuga it was, but it wasn't Kali Yuga. And so much more intelligent than us, much better in their behavior, and they're raised in the home of incarnation of God, Lord Rshabhadeva. They're his own sons, all highly qualified, but they continued to attentively hear from the instructions of the Brahmins there, and they so that's our means of conquest. One of the verses is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest. We can conquer over Maya. And there's one quote that I heard when I was very new in Krishna consciousness. I heard it once or twice, and I remembered it, and I been thinking of it lately, and I checked it with Satsvarup Maharaj to see if it was a bona fide Prabhupada said. So many times you hear Prabhupada said. Many times they are things he said, but sometimes they may not be. But anyway, so something important like this, I checked it with Satsvarup Maharaj, And I said, this is bona fide, Prabhupada said. And the quote is, and he said, yes. He told me, yes, it is. And the quote is that, which I probably don't have perfectly, but I have it, if not perfectly, very close, is that when a devotee surrenders to Krishna and surrenders to Krishna, very much surrenders. We're all surrendering. We're all trying to surrender. We're all surrendered to agree. We have a ways to go, a long way to go. We're all surrendered souls to some degree. But otherwise, why are we here? We wouldn't be here. And but Prabhupada says, when a devotee surrenders to Krishna, and Maya says, congratulations, you have triumphed over me. You have triumphed. So, and she's happy. It's the duty of Maya is to keep us in bondage, but it's not like it's the most desirable job in the world. Prabhupada refers to it as a thankless task. He gave the example one time in 26 Second Avenue in New York. He said, so he's giving a lecture, and probably there's 20 or 30 young men, women in the 26 Second Avenue, and he said, and now if a policeman comes in, a policeman in uniform comes in and just stands there in the back of the room, everybody will look around and think, oh no, why is he here? What's going on? And it's like if you're driving on the road and a cop pulls up behind you, even if he doesn't have his flashing lights on or his sign, if you just see a cop behind you, oh no, this isn't good. And so Prabhupada gave that example of Maya. He said the police work is a thankless task. What's your job? Your job is to arrest people and throw them in jail, to make them suffer. Of course, it's their own fault. They've made other people suffer. But your job is to give them misery, to put them in prison. So he called it a thankless. So that's Maya's task. A thankless task is to keep us in bondage. But when we triumph, when we surrender to Krishna, Guru and Krishna very sincerely, and Maya's attitude is good for you. You triumphed. So so we don't have to be afraid. Like when Prabhupada came to New York City, and in the first year, he was wandering by himself, alone. And I've known, anytime we travel, we go with money, we go knowing where we're going to stay, we know what we're going to do when we get there. No one, but Prabhupada didn't know anybody, didn't have any money, didn't know where he was going to stay. But he's a pure devotee of Krishna. He knows everything belongs to Krishna. And he said, I was living in New York that first year by myself, but I was never afraid. I always thought, I am home. A pure devotee is always home because everything belongs to Krishna, and Krishna will take care of him or her. So we don't have to be afraid anymore. We don't have to be in anxiety. Our only anxiety is how to be a better devotee, how to serve in a better way, how to help ISKCON progress, how to take care of Prabhupada's temples, how to take care of the deities, Radha Damodar, and That's our only worry, our only anxiety is how can I improve in devotional service? I'll just read one quote, two quotes. We were reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, no, I think it was in the Bhagavatam the other day on Zoom with Satsvarup Maharaj. I was there, I wasn't on Zoom, but he does a Zoom reading every day. And these two quotes came up in the course of the reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the first one is, one is immediately free from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, "My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service." And that was the two qualities that Prabhupada mentioned very frequently. Serious and sincere. That's the qualifications of a devotee. And this other quotation is from the Lord Ramachandra. And he says, "It is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, 'My dear Lord, from this day I am yours,' and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on." So these are very powerful quotes from Krishna, and we should know that we are safe. We are in the process of going back to home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said, he named his magazine Back to Godhead. He spoke of it so frequently. You can all go back to God, back to home, back to Godhead. Sometimes he would say very easily. And of course, it's not so easy for us because we're so conditioned and so is struggling in Krishna consciousness. So you may say it's not so easy, but it's so easy because it's the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada, our spiritual masters have made it very, very easy for us to become pure devotees and go back home, back to God. We just have to apply ourselves continuously and eternally and never stop. Okay, well, there's plenty of time for questions or comments. It's almost 2 minutes. Yeah.
It was such an enlightening experience. Thank you for these amazing points. One key take-home message from me today is we do not have to fear. We are under Krishna's shelter and protection. You give so many quotations in regard to this and amazing analogies as well, like the rope and snake. Prabhu, I had a question regarding this point.
You want to use the microphone? Not much time. Go ahead.
So I had a question related to this point that you heard from Prabhupada that you should know that you are a full number one.
Yeah.
So, while practicing Krishna consciousness as a sadhaka, we appreciate these points. I'm not the body, I'm the soul, an eternal servant of Krishna. But still, the mind very often goes into material zone and into bodily identification. I'm a man, I'm this, I'm that, I'm an engineer, I'm this, that. All these bodies, the mind. At such times, how can we remind ourselves, I'm a full number one, I'm really in need of Prabhupada's instructions. How do we do?
How do you remind yourself that you're fool number one? How do you remind yourself that you're fool number one? Well, you're in the material world. You wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. It doesn't get any more foolish than that. And you're still here. You're still here in Kali Yuga. I mean, that means that we're really fallen. And Kali Yuga is the worst age. I'm in the material world out of enviousness of Krishna. How can you forget that you're fool number one? And it's like, duh. That's how you can remind yourself. You just gotta know it. It's like if you break your leg and you're in excruciating pain, how can I remind myself that I have a broken leg? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Hare
His divine grace is to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhadakacharya Astutra Sati Shri Srimad His divine grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan ki jai, Navadvitam ki jai, Gangamay ki jai, Yamuna ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Go Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Govardhan. Lotus feet.
More spiritual. He is my Lord, from the ecstatic I have given to peace, Lord, the age to the sinner, our spiritual master, most of mercy, friend of the Lord, and master of glory. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us this day your mercy, your thanks for all. We take shelter and love.
Yeah.